Welcome back to the Nichole Show. Today we're diving deep into the power of authenticity and how embracing your true self can actually transform your life. In this session, we're going to tackle the struggles many face in conforming to societal norms while yearning to live authentically. Our challenges include overcoming fear of judgment, breaking free from limiting beliefs, and finding the courage to just be yourself. Joining us is Mandy Davis, a former high school teacher turned mentor who specializes in helping people discover and embrace their true identities. We'll explore Mandy's journey, the importance of authenticity, and how to be true to yourself, and how that can actually lead you to a more fulfilling life. By the end of this session, you'll be inspired to live your truth and embrace who you truly are. So let's get into it. Welcome aboard The Nichole Show with host Nichole Hamilton. Our task is to educate, empower, and change lives. Join us for stories of resilience and rebirth. Honest talks that inspire and challenge you. Are you ready to make a move? It begins now. Welcome back, guys, to The Nichole Show. This podcast is where we dive behind the masks of people in business, coaches in social media. And today, joining me, just having a little giggle, is Mad Dog, aka Mandy, from the beautiful BAM. So Mandy Davis, I've known her for about 3 or 4 years as a client, student, and now a friend. It's been a while. It's got to be at least 3 years.
It's at least.
At least, yeah. And so welcome to the podcast. Thank you for saying yes. Let's go on this crazy ride together. Give us a little intro on who you think Mandy is.
How long did you say we have?
Yeah, wow.
Who am I? Okay, I'm a mixture of people, really. I'm a mixture of somebody that's very passionate and vibing, and I love connecting with teenagers. It took crikey up to my late 30s to become a high school teacher, and I just found that became like more of a passion than a career, and love connecting with the teenagers, particularly the underdogs, because I was always a bit of an underdog at school. I never fitted into a particular group. I sort of always said my group was the misfits. So, I was either in the tech centre building woodwork projects, or in the music suite, or, hanging around the canteen or whatever. So I never sort of fitted in anywhere particularly, which is why I think I can diversify and do all sorts of stuff. So, there's not much that if somebody says, can you do that? Either I can, but if I can't, I'm going to find out a way.
I love that. That's a beautiful philosophy for life. I want you to remember that.
You're going to hold that against me, aren't you?
I'm going to remind you of that later, but that's okay. And I think that's why we connect so well, because we're both so diverse. And I'm the same. I, didn't really fit in at high school either, kind of wore a mask, which makes sense to me now that I found out that I'm ADHD. But I love the fact that you and I bond, and the fact that we've, both worked in education. We love helping, youth, and, being able to be that real life role model and mentor outside of the education system is really liberating, because we can talk about all of our struggles as human beings and be those mentors. And, we don't always have to have the answers either, but at least we can be a real human being and say, hey, I've been there, I've gone through that. And these are some of the things that have worked for me. And for you, putting your hands to work, creativeness. I mean, I know you love nature as well. And the kids that you work with just, vibe in that frequency as well. So it's beautiful to witness and see.
It's very important, because, like for me, when I was in the classroom, I wasn't teaching the kids. I was just being there for them, and the kids would just always vibe and just want to come to my classes, and they'd be like, Miss, you're just like no other teacher. And I'd be like, well, I've gone out there and I've lived a life, like I spent 14 years working in a bank. I spent 4.5 years working in private sector with my dad as the boss. And, You know, I know the life struggles and challenges. I went through life. You know, I was engaged at 18 and married at 20 because I thought society said you had to be married and live in a house with a white picket fence and have the husband and have the kids and stuff. And, you know, he was a beautiful man, but it wasn't the life for me. I spent 7 years of that marriage trying to be a good wife and trying to love him. And by the age of 27, I just went, I can't do this. And, you know, so I took myself on my own self-discovery journey. And before I could tell anybody, before I could tell my mum, my dad, before I could tell anybody, I had to work out who I was. And, you know, so not only being a misfit at school, but, you know, trying to work through different areas of my career, trying to figure out who I was for my career, then who I was in my personal life. You know, and so I came out and I've had some great loving partners. I even married a beautiful lady over in the UK. And, you know, it's not an easy life. It's not an easy life, but in your heart, you can't go through life denying who you are.
I love that.
You know, and that's why I think I connect with these kids, because they can be anything they want to be. With my BAM business. So I stood my ground at the end of 2021. I've been a great teacher for 10 years, and I stood my ground in my beliefs and my values, which meant I had to leave the education department. And I thought, what am I going to do? And I sooked and I cried and I put myself into a pit of despair for a few minutes. I've lost, yeah, you remember, because, you know, I came and saw you for a while. You know, I lost who I was. I lost my identity as a teacher. And, you know, I got onto the old Facebook, onto a few sort of community groups and said, look, I'm a home handyman. I'm also a high school teacher if you have kids that need tutoring, blah, 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 blah. And within the spate of a couple of months, my days were solidly booked up.
You were like cranking it. It was amazing to see that growth.
Yeah.
It really, really, you know, as I said, like anybody listening, by the way, do follow Mandy on her socials. Do find BAM. All the links will be underneath. TikTok, she's so freaking funny. And I think that that's what's missing in social media these days is people that put the goodness back. Like that's what we need to be scrolling through. If we're going to scroll, let's get on to good vibe feeds where people are either being real, being authentic, and sharing their stories. But I do just want to go wind back just a little bit what you were sharing, because it's really, really powerful. And we have a similar journey. I, you know, had a boyfriend at 17. I got married at 21. And I grew up in the country, and I was just, you know, I'm 43. Back then, there was no Facebook. There was no, you know, find anything. And it was like you get married and you have your husband and you have your kids. And I'm not, you know, I don't have any regrets about that. I have amazing kids. But I didn't know what it was like to be bisexual or be in this LGBT, or I probably class myself more, you know, pan or just spiritual. Like I'm just Nichole. Like I fall in love with humans, not a gender. And I, you know, that in itself is a beautiful thing to share these days, because not a lot of people still have the voice or the courage to share it. And it wasn't even a you know, a process that you could even chat to your parents about back then, because there was no conversation about it that it is now. And, you know, when I was working in the schools, there was the LGBT, like, you know, lunch groups, there was a lot more community based. And, you know, we have our pros and cons on both sides, but I really feel like this is a beautiful place because we're so diverse, and because we both have the courage to share our stories. Kids and attract to us because they're like, I can ask this person a question and they're going to be real and they're going to be honest and they're going to tell me, you know, what's worked for them and what hasn't. And I think that that's what's so, you know, special about you as well, is that you do that and you do walk the walk and talk the talk. So
absolutely. I still believe that there needs to be an element of, you know, the younger kids, you know, not having some of this stuff thrown in their face.
100%.
You know, I still believe that there needs to be. I mean, I was the biggest tomboy in primary school. You know, I was the only girl that played football. I was BMX racing. I was basketballing. I was, you know, I was doing all of the tomboy things. but I was allowed to grow up to be a tomboy, you know, and I wasn't forced into making any identity, you know, changes and anything. And I was,
Excuses or definitions. You were just allowed to be Mandy. I love that.
yeah, and I think that's what we need to do, is still let our kids be kids and do all of that sort of stuff, but then also just let them be.
100%. I honestly believe that there is, pros and cons to all this information out there. I think that, yeah, there is too much, there is way too much stuff on social media, which then does come into, are we brainwashing our kids? Are we giving them too much information?
I'm doing relief teaching at the moment, and, you know, year sevens are in high school now, and it's absolutely, I hear more sexualisation conversations from the year sevens than I do from the year 11 and 12s.
I know. I know.
It's a scary thing, but what can you do? You can't stop it. It's technology.
I think you just have to be a real beautiful role model, and that's what I love, especially having these open conversations about is, just being a role model. Like, if anybody's listening to this, maybe if any teenagers do listen, like, spend that time finding good mentors, people that you do trust. It doesn't have to always be within your own family. You can listen to podcasts and really spend some time working out who you are, because the thing that I believe that you and I will have this in common. I look back at my school life, and even primary school, so before high school. If I had somebody tell me that I was worthy and good enough and I didn't have to people please, because I fucking tried too hard. I was a try hard. If someone had told me that and repeated it, maybe I would have got my sense of self-worth earlier on. And maybe I wouldn't have had so much heartbreak and different, things. I would have chosen that path and worked. And that's why I'm so passionate about opening these conversations for kids, because deep down in my heart, I know that I'm worthy of love and I'm perfect how I am, but I still freaking forget it. And I still get bullied by my own head and my own irrational thoughts when I'm not having a good day. So, asking kids with the right language, like, what do you love about yourself? What do you know innately to be true about yourself? And having those conversations.
And that's one of the things that I do with BAM. Like, I work, when you go from a classroom of, 20, 25 kids, and I mean, I'd set my class up quite differently so that I could have one-on-one time even in the classroom. The kids are off working with their headphones on because I teach a computer subject, and I could then sit one-on-one with kids. But in BAM, it is one-on-one mentoring, and it's the kids are all homeschooled predominantly, on the spectrum, on a varying range, and a lot of parents reach out because their kids have just cocooned themselves into their bedroom, and they want their kids to get out of their bedroom, build some self-confidence, build some self-esteem. And what I've done with BAM is I've gone, okay, well, what's your hobby? What do you like? And we build on that. And once we've built some confidence and some success in those, then you diversify, and they do. They then start to go, oh, wow, I can do something else. I can do something else. I have one lad that's wanted to learn welding, and his mum brought him here once a fortnight for a couple of hours, and he's off with an apprenticeship now. And I'm like, yeah.
She watched the video, I was like silently screaming. Like, I couldn't be prouder, because I do remember you crying and being like, what do I do with myself? Like, you are such an innate teacher, and you are such and it is that love, and it is that chemistry and that connection that you really care about, these little human souls to find that, because, you can't teach that. You can go to university and learn a subject and deliver the content, but to actually feel and see another human being and know what they innately need to learn about themselves to then be successful in life. Like, fuck yes, Mandy, for doing that. And please don't ever stop, because that is what it's about. And you can't gift that to anybody. So when you do that, and I see you light up in your videos and your teaching and all these cool things, like, I am one of your biggest cheerleaders. And that kid will remember you. And the same with your students. They will remember whether they've had one interaction from you, watched one video, or whatever else. That is the ripple effect that you are creating. And it's literally what I believe my mission on this earth is to do, is to create a world of children's coaches, not teachers, not doctors, not counselors, a world of mentors that bring that kind of love and seeing humans through to their best capacity. So thank you so much for doing that. It's makes me teary, so happy.
Yeah. I mean, even just helping these kids that really struggle with their emotions and their feelings and building that trust. I had a lad, and he was my kayaking lad, and someone would come around and the weather was perfect and we'd go kayaking and we're splashing each other and we'd try and tip each other over. And I always thought he was loving it. He was loving it. And we went kayaking this one particular day and he was just really not there. And I knew that there was something up, but he kept paddling but he was sort of drifting in and out. I said, "Come on, man, what's up?" And he goes, "Oh, no, it's okay." And I said, "You can talk to me. We've been hanging out now for so long." I said, "I'm here to listen." And this is a lad that really struggled to be in touch with his emotions and his feelings. And, it took a little bit of courage. I said, "Anything you can say to me sticks between us and it's okay." And he said, "I don't enjoy kayaking." Now, I mean, internally, my heart just sunk because he was like my kayaking lad, and you can't regulate better than on water. And I went, "Dude,
Let's go.
that's cool." And he goes, "But I know how much you love it, and I've just been doing it because you love it so much."
Oh, bless
And
his
I
heart.
went, "Mate," I said, "this is about your time. This is about helping something for you. So let's turn around, let's go home.
Let's find
And
something.
let's grab your BMX and we'll go down the skate park. We'll grab the RC cars. We'll go and do something." He goes, "No, we'll keep paddling because, you watch the weather and the tides." And I said, "No, we're turning around and we're going back."
Ready to transform your passion into a profession? There's a link in the show notes to book a 30-minute Zoom call with me. It's just a short conversation to see if the program aligns with you. What we're really looking for is to determine how you can fulfill your goals and start your own journey as a kids coach today. Visit thekidscoach.com.au booking page, the Kids Coach with a Z, to build a business that's not only successful, but is enriching and heartfelt. It changes lives and it starts with you.
And it took him probably about another 5 odd minutes where he was sort of still withdrawn and still a little bit held back. But then when he realised that it was okay to share your emotions, it was okay to speak up,
Mm-hmm.
he came back out of his shell again. And then all of a sudden we were splashing each other and talking our stupid flat earthing stuff, trying to explain to him, I'm not a flat earther, but trying to explain to him that Niagara Falls is actually the edge of the earth.
Is it really?
No.
You've got me. You got me. Could be. No, but I do love that. And, it's something that we probably learned, I don't even know when. I've been a big advocate for sharing my vulnerabilities from, young age, from addiction and different things. But there's still parts and pieces of me that I'm like, oh, I'm not allowed to share that. And so it's a learning process of knowing that someone like you does have the safety and the capacity to hold their truth and not get angry and triggered and go, okay, that's perfect, that's beautiful. And that will stay with him obviously forever, and hopefully he keeps building on that. But that's it's so cool. And how many people literally go through life though doing and compromising and doing stuff for other people, me included,
We have.
to keep them happy because you believe that that's what you need to do to create partners or friendships or whatever else. It's honestly from doing this work. I do remember, so I've had fallings out. I make friends very easily, but I've had people come and go in my life, and I wasn't, the position was not open for a best friend. And, I had mourned, the loss of a group of friends. And from this work, from working on my own personal development, I met this beautiful, and everyone knows Crystal, who does follow me and listen to me. But after about a year of working together and collaborating and then talking on the phones, I literally realized that my sense of self-worth and value of what I wanted out of human beings, and giving energy and receiving it back, I was like, I remember just waking up one day going, oh my God, I love her and she's my best friend. But I'd cultivated such a good relationship with myself of what I wanted in another human being, because I'd never had that before. I people pleased. I gave too much. I felt used. I felt, that others were selfish, and that because, I wasn't speaking my truth or being able to be who I was. And then when I did do some of that work and I was putting that out there, randomly I had this person, fill that space and that void. And so, yeah, I think that what you're doing is so, so beautiful, and teaching that to others, speak their truth, ask for what they want, go get it. It's so beautiful. I have some questions for you, but in the Nichole Show as well, I like to take the mask off and dive it deep. So did you think of any questions that you wanted to either challenge me on or ask me before I ask you some juiciness? You've seen me online, you've seen me run my containers, you've also seen me one-on-one. And the feedback that I get though sometimes, and so I guess I'm curious, have you ever found me either dismissive or rude? Because sometimes my ADHD goes across and people either don't like me at some points because of the way that I either present or can be dismissive. So I'm curious if you've ever seen a side of me that maybe has rubbed you up the wrong way.
I personally haven't, but I think that is because we are very similar. My doctor says I'm a bit undiagnosed ADHD as well, so I can see your personality as your ADHD in me. Well, I guess when you say, nothing's rubbed me up the wrong way, but you are very quick to sort of cut into the next conversation, to cut to, and I think that's just this whole enlightened ADHD, shiny things, butterflies, what's going on next, but as I said, I could see how some people would, because people will judge, and I can see how some people would go, oh, no, she's just too full on for me. But yeah, for me, no issues for me. My only thing is, I take my hat off to you. I know how much work you do on yourself and your own self-image and your own self-belief. I don't know how you can put your pole dancing rehearsal videos up. And like last year, we caught up at the music festival for Feast, and I turned around at one stage, and like we're at this big open air, LGBTQ LMNOZPQRST concert, and you've got your shorts down, standing there in your undies, showing people all your tattoos. And I was just like, oh my God, how does she do that? But that is so Nichole. It's like, I couldn't do it. I've got too much. I don't know. I don't have body confidence.
Years of working on that though, because I did never love my body. I hated my thighs. I thought I was too fat. There was a lot of things that I was conditioned to think of. When I first started pole dancing, there was some, and there are some amazing, beautifully athlete bodies, with six packs. So I used to stand side on because I'm not the skinny one with a six pack. But it's through watching myself, and then also watching my other students and even teens when I've taken them to the dance studio, not be able to look at themselves in the mirror and find something that they like about themselves, like just dismiss themselves. And so I guess what I could see in others as I was struggling, I had to keep walking the walk and talking the talk. And like, okay, well, what do I like about myself? What can I say about myself? Well, I love the fact that my body is strong. I could pick on those pole dancing videos and go, oh, there's cellulite there, wobbling there. Oh my God, my belly looks bloaty. And I can, but I pull myself up and I'm like, do you know what? I'm 43 and I do have the courage to get up on that pole and do my performances and encourage others in that beautiful, safe space. And, and I actually have, I think, a TikTok, one of my first ones that went viral with some really nasty comments on it. But I think it's building up that emotional resilience that, some people are just say those types of things and not let it come into my filter. But also, I am at a place where I do love my body. Like I do, like I love my tattoos, and that's what I was showing off at that thing. I was like, oh, I may as well just show. I think the dance community and being in a community that don't judge people on their weight, on their size, on their age, on their skin, on their stretch marks, like being in that community has really helped me. And I've been in that for like 12 years now. So having a loving environment is completely different than the gym. The gym is,
I guess, because like, I'm 51 and I'm like saying, give yourself a break. You're 51 now, you've done all your fitness, you've been a group fitness instructor, but exactly that. The gym is where I like to go. But
working out there, but it's not a community where I feel like empowered.
I don't feel comfortable because of all the little, except if I do see a larger person, I smile at them and almost like welcome them, and but then I think they might think I'm a bit of a freak or something.
Love it. So I actually tell people, so, there was a beautiful girl there, like obviously way younger than me, perfect booty, working out. And I was like, oh my God, like I love that, that exercise that you're doing, and, complimenting her and her, program, because she's actually training for something. But not a lot of people even have the confidence to give a compliment when compliments due. And there was one particular guy at the gym, and he was like stunning. Like I'm telling you, from head to toe flawless, like his aesthetics, his tan, his body, his hair, his eyes, his features, like, and you would think I had judged this guy, that he would know that, that he had an attitude. And one day, and I'd been perving on this guy for a long time, I'm happy to say, I actually even tripped over the treadmill one day looking at him. Anyway, one day I actually got him with his headphones off near the water thing. And I was like, by the way, I just have to tell you, you're aesthetically gorgeous, like your hair, your thing, blah, 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 everything. I said, you should be really proud of yourself. And he's like, really? No one's ever said that. I was like, what? Like, you can think that people know these things, but I think that, honestly, and I was saying it, like I wasn't saying it to, blow smoke up his, up his behind. I was just genuinely giving a compliment because I could see all the work that he put into his body and his aesthetics. I think it's amazing. So telling people what you see in others is a big thing of mine. And again, not a lot of humans do it, in the randomest places. Alrighty. Well, I've got some questions for you. I want to know, and I guess you've touched on it a little bit, but what is the most important thing to date that you've learned in life?
So one of our sessions together, we did some past life regression sessions, and you helped me connect with my 6-year-old self. It's a session I'll never forget. And my mum and dad divorced when I was just a little kid. I was just only a couple of years old, and that's okay, because out of that I've got a brilliant stepmum. She's always been my best friend, and but you went through the tortures of visiting your dad every second weekend and trying to live 2 different lives and stuff. And I guess this is probably where I always felt, even though I kind of felt torn between my mum and my dad, and I always felt I wasn't good enough. I wasn't living up to what their expectations were. And during this session that you and I had, I met my 6-year-old self, and that must have been one of the key times where I was feeling really, really crap. And that 6-year-old self told me there and then in that session, just be you. And I knew all along that that's what it had to be. And, to the point where I actually got a tattoo on my arm that says, just be you. And so if one of the most important things I've ever got out of life, doesn't matter who you are, just be you. Don't try and follow, don't try to follow people because you need to follow people. The right people are going to find you. Here I am therapizing myself.
These podcasts are great because we have these drop-ins, and I'm listening to some of my old ones, and then forgetting something that I've done a month ago, and they're like, oh my God, that's right, Nichole. Like, we do have to remember that. We do have to go back. Like, I don't know if you can see in my background here, I've got literally like all my little Nicholes up here, and I bring her into this space because there's so many parts of all of us that do need to be heard. Yep. And those little parts of us, the younger versions of us, do need to have a voice. And it's quite often what I do, like inner child therapy and timeline is beautiful. But what I learned as an adult is if we ask those questions to that 6-year-old, because I work with younger kids as well, or to that teenager in that moment, what do you need right now? What do you need to hear? How can I support you? They already know. And so if we can give them some of those little, magic dust or keys now, that is going to last them a lifetime, And so that's why I'm so passionate about bringing it to kids. But I love that 6-year-old you. So I want you to remember that. And
I never forget it. And the thing is, like, the kids see my tattoos at school and they want to know the stories behind my tattoos. And it's interesting because they actually do ask, what are the stories behind your tattoos? Not just like, oh, yeah, nice artwork. And when I tell them about the Just Be You, you can actually see that they're listening.
Yeah.
And they're processing. And I actually say to them, so you know what, guys, when you are feeling the worst, just remember who you are and just be your genuine, authentic self.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. It's so important. Yeah. In all humanness, we all forget that, and we all try too hard, and we just authentically want that connection and that love. So, we could honestly chat for hours, but
if you want Bam Mandy Part 2.
100%. I am like, these conversations do go into so many cool places, and I will have people back on, or maybe you should start your own. Who knows? That's my other question I did have for you. Are you working, or do you have an idea for any new endeavors, like any new projects that you're working on right now?
My brain goes in so many avenues. I mean, I've got a mind map on a vision board here in my office that I wanted to create a BAM hub, and that BAM hub was, like you and I've already talked. It was kind of like my own little tech study school for homeschoolers and kids that are on the spectrum that don't fit into certain places. And there are kids that, in your mainstream schools that want to do tech studies, but they can't because the noise is too much for them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, because of all the politics and all that sort of stuff, kids are limited to what they can do and how they can do it. And so, my biggest dream plan was to get some sort of workshop, warehouse kind of environment where I could set up a little metalworking area for teaching kids welding, etc., a little woodwork area, a computer suite where I could teach kids CAD and 3D printing, and maybe like a kitchenette where kids can do a little bit of barista work and stuff like that, and then maybe a little bit of a music mix up studio. So look,
put our hats on, and also like maybe I have to ask my auntie, but apply for some grants. But I could see my dad doing that. My dad's got 5 trades. He would love to come in and teach woodwork.
I mean
metal and there's so many cool things, and our community does need more of that kind of teaching, and like you said, getting our kids out of their 4 walls. Both my kids game as soon as they get home, and getting them into life skills and using their hands.
One of the kids I work with, he wants to get in and learn welding. He wants to go, and he's homeschooled, but he's been trying to get into this school to learn welding and to potentially go down the engineering path. And the school's not set up for, this particular school is not set up for SSOs and support work. So unless the kids can be autonomous and learn without assistance, he won't get a place. And it's a shame, but to be able to provide that. But that's my long-term goal. What have I got on the go? I've got all sorts of things on the go. Like I have actually, for probably the last 6 months or so, delved into the idea of podcasts, and I've started to, I'd start to record something, and then I'd put that into the little back burner, and I'd record something else, and I'd be like,
I would listen 100%. And you know what? I did the same. So I was like being interviewed for about a year on everybody else's podcast. And then I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to, dive deep into some of the things that I want to share. And I think that, it is that little legacy, and, we're putting back into the waves of a product that is free. People can download and listen. And if it lands on some, like one person's ear and helps them, that's for me is the biggest key. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. We did divulge into multiple areas there, guys. If you have any questions too for either of us, the social links will be underneath. And if you want us to do another one and you have a topic for us, we'd love to. We honestly love to be in the studio together to answer your questions, take the masks off from, teachers and coaches and mentors, and provide, value to the families, and especially our neurodivergent families that are seeking that help, and kids. So it's been lovely having you. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up?
Just keep being beautiful.
Yeah, everybody, you are beautiful. We love you, and thanks for your support. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
Good job. Thanks for your time, Nick.
So welcome.